Thanks for your company this afternoon. The federal government has lost its bid to block compensation claims from people held in immigration detention, including foreign-born criminals, after the High Court unanimously rejected its case. Joining us on the debrief today, Katie Lamb from Triple M Breakfast in Perth and Mark Riley from 7 News in Canberra. Good afternoon to both of you. Riles, let's start with you on this one. The government could now face thousands of claims that people are entitled to.
Yeah, and probably will, Hugh. I think on the basis of that High Court ruling yesterday, what it essentially does is it rejects the government's argument that it should have immunity from compensation claims from people who are held in immigration detention in all cases. So that opens it way beyond just the NZYQ cohort of the criminal detainees who are held indefinitely in detention, and the High Court forced their release through a ruling in 2023. We're talking about people who've been held in detention since about 2014 who now may make claims and probably will. And we're talking about tens of millions of dollars in potential compensation. A lot of people will say, well, hang on, to who, for what? We're talking about in the NZYQ cohort people who were convicted murderers, drug runners, who were rapists, and now taking claims against the government because of this ruling in the High Court, which overturns another ruling in the High Court, which established the course, the course of law in our country. So the government is, in political parlance, investigating the ruling and seeing what the implications are, but in the end it is going to cost governments a lot of money. And remember, as Ronald Reagan said, governments don't have money, taxpayers have money, so it's going to cost taxpayers tens of millions of dollars. Yeah,
Katie, you had Pauline Hanson in Perth there last night. How do you think something like this is going to land with the community?
Yeah, look, it's no surprise that I'm just a small town breakfast radio host here in Perth. I don't think this passes the pub test, to be fair, but, I'm sure if you want me to test it out, I can head to the pub tomorrow, Saturday, and probably Sunday as well, watching the footy.
Yeah, I reckon it's something that's going to be spoken about, that's for sure. Barbecues and the pub this weekend.
That's it.
Hey, look, moving on, the National Party wants school students forced to sing the Australian National Anthem at least once a week, with a motion to mandate it set to be discussed at their state conference in New South Wales this weekend. The Northern Territory mandated both verses of the National Anthem for public school students earlier this year. Katie, do you remember singing it at school? I think we used to when I was at primary school.
You know what? I think we only sung it at really important sort of school assemblies. And I love the National Anthem, especially at a big sporting event. Special school assemblies, sure. Do we need to do it once a week? I don't think so. That might be a little bit of overkill, I think.
Riles, both verses might be a bit of a stretch for some people's memories, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of mumbling when the second verse is sung. Yeah, and I'm with Katie. I'm against mandates generally. I don't think governments should step in and force people to do much of anything unless what they're doing is illegal. But I do like the idea of the National Anthem being sung at schools, and I've been to my kids' schools many, many times where the National Anthem is sung, and as Katie says, mostly at assemblies and major events. I think that's appropriate. If schools determine in their own communities that they'd like it sung once a week, fine. But governments, get out of our lives, don't mandate things.
Yeah, there's certainly nothing wrong with doing it, that's for sure. Finally, psychologists are warning AI toys are robbing children of important skills like socialisation, with a new report also flagging privacy concerns. The AI toy market is expected to grow around 400% in the next decade. Riles, your kids are a bit older, so they're not going to be playing with this, but would you let a kid play with an AI toy?
Yeah, my boys are now men. They're using AI for all sorts of different things, and they certainly are. Look, I think that we've got to accept that the new generation is the AI generation. I don't like the idea of these things, though. Trouble in Toyland from my point of view. I think that these AI tools can be used and abused. I mean, they're run by the same sort of chatbots that are online, so kids can get information from these seemingly innocuous, fluffy fluffy toys that really are advanced concepts and dangerous concepts. And also, I'm concerned about the sort of psychological tools that these AI producers employ to get kids to play longer. It's kind of like, trying to get people captured on poker machines and what have you to feed sort of obsessions. And that really worries me. Get the kids outside, give them a ball, tell them to go out and kick it.
Yeah, too right, Katie. Childhood has changed, hasn't it?
Big time. I mean, what happened to going outside and playing chasey? 44 home. I had upwards of 65 Barbies. I got to use my imagination. Barbies was the all-time favourite. I had all of the Spice Girls and I had 2 of Scary Spice. But yeah, look, I think the AI thing, I think it's a little bit crazy for mine. First they want to take our jobs, now they want to talk to our kids. I'm not for it.
Yeah, a bit of imagination goes a long way, doesn't it? Katie, Riles, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. Good to see you both.
Thanks.
Going to my Barbie, my footy. Do I have a Barbie?
A lot of stories there. Thanks.